alone. Here's the place where to be industry. This train is carrying jobs out of Cleveland. Cleveland leads the nation in drifters. Here's a statue of Moses Cleveland. He's the guy who invented Cleveland. Yeah!
All right, so now we can actually make a podcast out of this. Welcome to everybody, and thanks for joining us for our Major League Watch Party. We'll do a quick round of intros so that everybody knows whose voice is whose, and then we'll get everybody synced up and get this going. So I'm Paul Noonan. I write for Acme Packing Company with a few people on here, and I do the Milwaukee Tailgate podcast with a few other people on here. So we'll just go in the order I'm seeing them. Ryan, why don't you intro yourself first?
Yeah, I'm Ryan Top, and I am one of the original members of the Milwaukee's Tailgate and stayed to the new crew that we just got going. So,
and next to him, I actually have John, who just joined.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan Barnett. I'm with Acme Packing, and I also have a podcast, Scotty Johnny. We cover just general Wisconsin sports.
Yep, and under him, I actually have the managing editor of Acme Packing Company, who's waving.
Hey, everybody. This is Tex Western. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, and
that and my great Milwaukee County Stadium T-shirt.
Yep. Last but not least, the man who can tell us the quality of the Mexican leagues where Jake Taylor's playing.
And I'm saving it. I'm holding it in. I don't want to reveal it until we get to that point in the movie when we're really talking about the deep scouting that they have to do to put this roster together. I'm Brad Ford. I am a member of Milwaukee Tailgate 2.0, the better point .0. And I also write for Brew Crew Ball, doing mostly Milwaukee Brewers prospects.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. And so you should have your movie paused with a giant statue of a guy with Paramount Pictures Presents in large letters over it, which is the very beginning of the movie. It is 21 seconds into my stream, if that helps you. And let's all kick it off, people on with me too, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. All right. So the reason we're doing this movie in the first place is it is almost entirely filmed in Milwaukee and not Cleveland, even though it's about the Cleveland Indians. It was a big, huge, hairy deal when it was in Milwaukee. Like, they had, I know everybody, Milwaukeeans turn out, for anything that they're asked to turn out for, but it's hard to get 12,000 extras to turn out for anything, which they did in droves. That was a statue of Moses Cleveland, by the way.
And I hope it was in Milwaukee.
It was a huge deal in Milwaukee, just a giant deal. So that was Moses Cleveland. It's funny. I think of Cleveland as maybe being named after President Cleveland, or perhaps being just, a cleave in the land where the river happened to hit the Great Lakes. Not the case. It was founded in 1796 by that guy. He didn't like it and went back to Connecticut, where he was from, which is sort of Cleveland in a nutshell. Cleveland's population did not exceed 150 people until 1820, which is 30 years after its founding. So it's always kind of been Cleveland to a large extent. It was also acquired in the typical way that land was acquired back then, swindling the natives who live there, backed up by force. So good times for everybody. This is Randy Newman singing the theme song. Randy Newman is now known mostly for treacly garbage in Toy Story, but he was actually kind of a subversive songwriter through a lot of his early days. His most famous song is probably Short People Got Nothing to Live For, which is great. This song's pretty subversive because it compares the Indians being able to win games to the same odds as the river starting on fire, which, that's a fun comparison.
Can we quick shout out a caricature of Vince Lombardi in one of those newspapers?
Was it really? Oh, yeah. Nice.
There's also great. Randy Newman did a very good musical, which is subversive. It's a modern retelling of Faust. Has quite an amazing cast. Like James Taylor plays God.
Wow, that's good casting.
Elton John has a single song cameo where he shows up as an English angel.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Randy Newman is kind of a songwriter to some extent. I know musicians often like him, especially his lyricism. He's got a bunch of awards for various things. Not an EGOT guy, but he's got across the scope of what you can win for. And
then he got grabbed by Disney's evil clutches.
Yeah, and he made.
That's how they
that's
organize
a Milwaukee shot.
Yeah.
They were already working in, even in this beginning, the shot of the home bridge there.
Indeed, they did.
But now we're back. So this is actually Cleveland Municipal Stadium. So my dad was telling me about a game he saw there in like some of the really, really bad days, like 87, 88. He was on a business trip, and he said the announced attendance was like 900, and he said there weren't that many people there.
Jeez. I mean,
like you could sit there and count one by one.
It was picked for a reason. It may seem kind of implausible that like a trophy wife inherited a team, but it's not uncommon in the history of sports for semi-competent relatives to inherit teams from people. I mean, the Bears are still owned by the Hallises, for goodness sake. So,
Lions and the Fords.
And the Fords, same thing.
Same idea. Yeah.
So totally possible, somewhat plausible.
Wasn't this based on a specific person? Wasn't that in your notes? Like this was based on Georgia Frontieri, right?
I was not in my notes, but if.
Oh, I ran across that someplace else then.
Okay, that's you bringing this.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Georgia Frontieri, who was the person who moved the Rams from L.A. to St. Louis, and then they sold them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds.
But yeah, that's who this was kind of based on.
Sounds about right. That's Rachel Phelps is played by Margaret Whitten in this, who's not in really anything else. She's in a terrible football movie called The Best of Times with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell that I saw during a Brewer rain delay on Channel 18 in Milwaukee. And it's terrible. But we just missed the first appearance of the janitor from Scrubs, who has a good arc in this movie. He is a grounds crew, he's a dock worker, a blue-collar guy, and he shows up in tons of scenes. So his name's Neil Wyatt. He's all over this thing.
And that diner was what? That was kind of in here too.
That's
right?
Elliot's Diner, a place I used to go to when I was a kid. The first place I had French onion soup. In one of the many Milwaukee locations in this movie that no longer exist in any form at all. It has been gone for a long time. It was good.
One of my favorite lines early on in the movie is the this guy here is dead, and I've always wondered how he died. Was he just a guy that was it a typo that they just accidentally left on some guy who was 80 years old and died of old age, or did somebody die in a freak Lake Erie dock accident, or what happened there?
I prefer to always think about it like Homer Simpson or like Mr. Burns and Homer at the bat, or
you're right.
like
he's been dead for 109 years. But he says it with such disdain that it seems like it would have been a high-profile death that everybody should know about.
Well, a few years after this, Cleveland actually had a couple of minor league, or I think on the verge of major leagues, or even in the major league pitchers, died during spring training in Winter Haven, Florida, which was very near my grandmother's place down there, and we were in town when it happened. So it was just front page news, huge deal when all that happened.
Wow.
That was a few years after this. So that was like 93. But it was a boating accident. It was a couple of good young pitchers, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm trying to remember the names off that, but I do remember that happening.
Here's our intro to Jake down in Mexico.
So I always thought
with a
that
sombrero on his head
was Bill Murray. Like this, when he starts speaking, he sounds like Bill Murray.
He does. When he says Tolbert, he sounds like Bill Murray, right? To the extent this movie has a protagonist, it's probably Jake. But it's a weird movie just because I feel like all the characters who intended to be minor just steal so many scenes that it just turned itself into an ensemble. And just totally swamps the Jake Taylor and Rene Russo plot. Oh, there's a chicken in this room. That's good. This is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. The guy had the other line about white walls.
Yeah. Who's buying white walls in 1989? That's fantastic. I love Lou's dedication.
All right. I had white walls in 2008. Thank you.
Really?
Yeah. They gave me the option. Apparently it was like one side was black, one side was white wall. And I was like, give me the white walls on my 1988 Pontiac 6000.
It's also interesting because they established that he has managed the Mud Hens in AAA for the last 30 years. So
Yeah.
you'd think that he could make at least a halfway decent living and
He
wouldn't
would.
have to work at a tire shop.
Yep. By the way, that
So
was
aside from
that was the
the
county.
Durham
The county lockup is where he was. That was a Milwaukee shot. Just so everybody knows, that was the actual Milwaukee County Jail.
So aside from the Durham Bulls, are the Toledo Mud Hens like the most talked about minor league team in popular culture? Because Max Klinger on MASH is a huge
Yes.
Mudheads fan and always wears the hat and the jersey.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And it's also just like a funny name. So
Yeah, I think it probably is. Like other than the St. Paul Saints, just because of their owner and their shtick. But yeah, I think in pop culture it probably
Old
is.
Milwaukee beer.
Tecate shirt. That's awesome. I never noticed he had a Tecate shirt on before. By the way, there's a lot of Milwaukee random product placement in this movie on T-shirts too. Like Quad Graphics is all over it. Here's Dennis Haysbert. A lot of people's like first appearances are in this. Like Wesley Snipes was kind of an unknown. Rene Russo was kind of an unknown. Dennis Haysbert certainly too. And didn't really become famous for like 20 more years. On 24 as the president, and now your all-state pitchman. I love how Dorn parks across line so that nobody can park next to him. Also fantastic. With his
Bringing his golf
clubs.
clubs into the. They bring them in a year. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I don't know why.
I do like the coaching staff and Charlie Donovan do understand that he's bad at fielding, because I feel like it was like not always the focus of people at the time. So.
It's quite the hood ornament on Hayes' car here.
Massive man spreading going on there by the general manager.
So I mean, this is the equivalent of like a kid walking onto a football team as a freshman in college, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm the whole idea of this just blows my mind.
I think if she wasn't trying to actively tank, yeah, it's not plausible. But the fact that there's so many no-name guys there, like Charlie Sheen's character, like Rick Vaughn is, out of jail
White
there.
Wall.
Yep.
And White Walls, everybody.
But even as a kid, it bothered me.
It's a good
that,
point.
If you were truly trying to tank, why would you get people that had talent? Like, these guys are talented. They're just very raw and, like, underdeveloped and have made...
Right, like you could have just gotten anyone out of jail.
Yeah.
That's true. Or, like, she did put some work into her bad roster that probably wasn't warranted. Like, why not just bring up a bunch of AA and single A guys that you know to be bad?
Right. It's more like when they build the scab roster and the replacements than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, maybe these just very talented but very raw guys will come together to win.
Just have an open just tryouts and then just sign whatever drunk Cleveland guy shows up. I mean, that guy's in every city, not just because it's Cleveland, but that's where it's set, because it could be drunk people.
This guy just walked in from the exit door twice. He just walked in again.
By the way, my son and I on MLB The Show this year, we made a guy who has the Wild Thing haircut, because that's one of the options, and it's fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my god.
Brewer minor leaguer Braden Webb is trying to go back to the Wild Thing haircut.
Oh wow.
Hey, Tex, do you have Twitch up by any chance?
I do.
Is it working okay? Mine's a bit glitchy, but I think it's just my internet.
It's a little funny.
All right. I might just stop and
Yeah,
start
looks
it real
like
quick.
Looks like it's hung a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
So, like, signing Rick Vaughn is, like, more or less from a penal league is basically like signing that guy who threw 96 in, like, the pitching machine at Oakland Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much. Or the plot of Rookie of the Year, is it? With Henry Roden.
Oh, yeah. The kid? Yeah.
The kid, yeah. All right, I'm redoing the stream here. If anybody had it clip out, sorry about that.
Oh, look at those shorts.
No.
So is this accurate in like 1988, 89 that guys would have been doing this for spring training? Because this certainly is
Like,
the way
I
spring training
imagine
is now.
they do keep, like, rookies all in, like, a contained location. But I cannot imagine it's a military bunk bed scenario.
Yeah, I mean, this is like barracks.
Ooh, 60-yard dash time.
I love.
It's a really good thing that Hayes ended up picking the top bunk too.
It really is.
Yeah, convenient.
No dogs allowed.
Through not only being carried out, but being in sunlight for several hours at this point.
I do love how
Next to people clapping.
people are clapping.
Yeah.
Like, go guys, you're fast. Go for it.
So much clapping.
So
Yay, fast boys.
apparently Wesley Snipes was actually one of the worst athletes of all the actors there, so they had to do way more like cutting around him than they did everybody else. Even though he's supposed to be super fast, you can kind of see it like when he's doing base stealing and things like that. That he's not really as good as some of the other guys.
Well, even like his running for him here, like the hunching in the neck wasn't too great.
I mean, Sheen is like a legit athlete, right?
Yeah, Sheen was one of the better athletes in this. Who he had legit stuff on his fastball. I mean, for a normal person, he
had like high school pitching experience. They all commended him on that for like him actually having decent form compared to Hollywood pitchers.
He looks pretty good. He took a bunch of steroids during the filming of this movie, which he claims made him rage out a bunch.
How dare you say that Charlie Sheen would do drugs?
And at least they were performance enhancing.
Cocaine it enhances a type of performance.
True enough.
Why does that?
Nice stirrup shot.
Stirrups are so good.
Major league plot has to focus around a catcher who can't field right.
I mean, okay, but in this one he's just old. This Major League 2 has the complete ripoff. So.
Yeah, Major League 2 has great value catcher who is obsessed with lingerie.
So the coaching in this is so bad. All the things that they tell people.
That's true.
It's terrible, and it's also very much in keeping with like people have talked about this now. Like for years, people have been told, yeah, you want to swing down on the ball, put the ball in play on the ground, whatever. That's been like accepted wisdom, and it basically just goes back to the dead ball era in like the 19 teens of that was the way to play baseball back then. And it hasn't made sense for like 100 years, but that was just sort of the accepted wisdom of it forever.
In fairness, though, Hayes is terrible, and maybe it is good advice for him.
I wouldn't single one of those push-ups. He doesn't go all the way up.
Yeah,
they don't count.
I mean, if you think about it, he's probably been playing an indie ball because he's not an affiliated ball. We know that much at least. And so his hit tool is going to be suspect. You got like Terrence Gore here, right? That's what he is. So he probably should just be bunting and hitting it on the ground because he's not going to hit line drives. He's bad.
I'm just saying he's not even that ripped. Do roids better.
Lou Brown, by the way, is played by James Gammon, who plays the same character in everything he's in, which you probably know just by watching him.
Are you Paul?
Yep.
All he needs is glasses. Is he you?
Pretty much.
I just love that the coaching is like, let's overwork their muscles to potential injury.
I love it later on when Doran's like just covered in bruises from taking defense.
But now the Army barracks makes sense.
Yeah, that's
He'll
true.
just punish him physically.
Yep.
For whatever.
To be fair, that was a really embarrassing effort on that ground ball.
It was pretty bad. So Serrano's just Corey Hart, right? That's
Corey Hart pre-LASIK.
Corey Hart pre-LASIK.
So wait, is Corey Hart
like
a combination of Serrano and Rick Vaughn then?
Oh, he is. He's the combo.
Yeah. It reminds me of J.J. Hardy because J.J. Hardy, every time he'd get up, they would just say, he's a great fastball hitter. And that's like the only compliment they could give to his hitting was, man, if there's a fastball, he'll do
mash
good.
it. Yep. This is probably one of the best parts in the movie here.
Absolutely.
Now that's coaching. You don't get that anymore.
There's just some player rep in the stands just calling up their lawyers, telling like, hold on, guys.
Nowadays, that would end up in a lawsuit.
Yeah, and Doran would absolutely have that in his contract to know about it.
You'd have the other Billy Bean come down there, have to talk to you about acceptance and.
So, does anybody know if they actually cut people in spring training in some form of the red tag system? Like, is that?
No, Because they're all on like minor league contracts. It's not roster or not roster. It's
Right.
not go home or no. They just like bring you into the office. They say like, hey, we think it's time for you to go to minor league camp because you need to work on this and this. Thanks for your work.
By the way, one of the best parts of this is that for batting practice, Eddie was throwing spitballs and gunk balls at people.
That's the dedication to the bit that you're doing. Like, basically, the fielding days of spring training.
Yep, it probably does take practice to get used to throwing with crap on the ball, so I suppose it makes sense. But...
Just the Vagisil on the hip. How does he get there?
Yeah, his shirt's tucked in. That doesn't work.
Wipe your nose. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Wash your hands for 20 seconds. Yeah.
I love the jalapeno. It's so good. So Eddie's played by Chelsea Ross, and he is in a ton of stuff. Most recently, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the Coen Brothers movie that's on Netflix, as a fur trapper. He is one of the better athletes in this. He was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and he was in the Air Force. He did a tour in Nam, and his dad was also an Air Force guy. So he looks like a schlub in this who's washed up, and that's what he's supposed to. But he could actually like run and throw pretty well when he wasn't acting. This is not the best.
First time I saw this movie, I was probably 10 years old, and Jobu was like the thing that made it for me. And now looking back on it, it's like, ooh, that's not great.
It's not great.
Meanwhile, at 10, what's the Japanese character in 2?
2, that's also not great.
Even at 10, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I totally did that.
There's a couple things.
I saw it, I was like, what?
There's a couple things in this one that still get you to wince a little bit. Just so everybody knows, Jobu's not real. He's a made-up religious figure.
No.
And
yeah, this is.
Are you saying Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? It's still one of the best lines.
It is one of the best lines of this whole thing.
It's just you can have a good and funny Cuban defector story, I think, without having to go to this well. So. But whatever, it was the 80s were a very different time. Very, very, very different time.
Yeah, I mean, at this time, we're making a bunch of romance movies like Pretty in Pink, where every time an Asian character appears on the screen, we hear a gong.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, John Hughes was not the most sensitive of people when it came to that stuff.
And by the way, David Ward, who wrote and directed this movie, he also is a co-writer on Sleepless in Seattle, which explains the entire romantic subplot. Also wrote The Sting, which was an awesome movie that won an Oscar. So
there are a lot of people in stands for batting practice in spring training.
Yeah,
especially for a team that sucks.
Yeah.
Like when you don't have one star, it's not like you're waiting for an autograph. Why do most of those ball marks look like bird crap?
Knocking the skin right off the ball, I guess.
How much resin you putting on your hands?
Like snake charming's like a Southern evangelical thing. What are they even doing? It's ridiculous.
Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't make a lot of coherent sense. It's just like whatever.
The garter snake, though.
I suppose that's why it's in there for that part.
Where did Serrano keep the snake during spring training?
His pants. Wink.
Who knows?
I'm so sorry. I'll
in
leave.
his locker. Yeah. That's why you're here, Brad.
We've been watching this for this long, and that's what makes us win. None of those push-ups count, by the way. None of them. Those
bad form. Terrible.
Oh.
Derek Turnbow.
Jeez.
I mean, he slid into the ball, though. That's interference.
Also, what are we doing crashing into catchers in spring training? I mean, poor Jake. Just get out of the way.
That's Pete Rose ball right there.
I would say that's the Cubs for you.
Yeah. Oh, he's so slow.
I mean, no matter where he's been playing, how does he not know how far away the base is that he's that far?
I mean, everybody
I've never split into second before. I was like, I've never missed second base. I don't know.
So, wait.
That's definitely an endorsement hat with the Nike
Dorn,
hat on Dorn,
hat,
right?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Has to be. Hilarious.
Is the coach in the hospital for the entire season that long recovering from a heart attack?
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's very long.
It's a long time. I don't think it's the whole season though. I think it's during the season because he's obviously having the big speech when it happens.
Right. But I feel like it's like the 3/4 mark. It's in like May.
I want to see a movie about Gentry. Like we'll do a whole just like Gentry's story.
I agree with you on that. It would be fascinating. I want a story about all the guys who aren't focused on in this movie, especially
Just
like
the snake. Just follow the snake for a day.
Yeah, like they never mentioned.
I want to know if Tomlinson ever got his visa.
And who's like the first baseman? You know, he should be one of the best hitters on the team. But
I accidentally opened X-ray. I'm like 3 seconds behind.
Oh no. Very dramatic.
And of the things that have changed since the 80s, how is the Cleveland logo just not completely
I was just gonna say.
So they've gone back and forth on Chief Wahoo so many times to almost getting rid of it and then like bringing it back for retro purposes.
They stopped like selling merch with him on it.
Yeah.
But then like only in the stadium.
Somebody put that up on Twitter or something like of the 4 best logos in sports. And it's like you have to be kidding, right? And they got very mad at me.
It's a bad logo.
They have to do something with it every year to keep the copyright active or something.
Who wants that copyright?
Like
yeah, I think they put them on the sleeve of the
of
retro jerseys.
Yeah, that's a whole IP law thing.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. And if
to maintain the trademarks,
they should be better about their messaging around it though. Like if I were them, I would at least say like we're keeping this so that a bunch of idiots can't make jerseys with it on there because they would.
Yep. Well, remember that famous photo from opening day a few years ago with the Native American protester having some guy, white guy in full headdress and face paint, wagging his finger in his face?
I do.
That was quite the thing.
Yeah, I think I'm the only person who lives in Ohio here, so I have some friends who are on both sides of that debate. A couple who are very just let it fade away into the ether, and a couple that are very angry that they have been phasing it out gradually over the years.
It's so funny that this is what, even for a bad team, that they imagine this is what their locker room looks like.
It's pretty rough. So this is, by the way, Nicolay High School's locker room. If you're wondering where... I'm pretty sure it's
Nicolay High School's locker room.
Wait, I thought Nicolay's High School locker room.
It's like
I thought Nicolay's High School locker room.
Is that the Major League one?
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, it's the Major League locker room.
Oh my
God.
God.
Nicolay has like a pro locker room.
I guess I don't. Maybe
it's terrifying.
They do mention the county lockup in the same sentence as Nicolay. So maybe that's what that is. Maybe that's a prison locker room. Kind of looks like.
Wow, I've watched this so many times on cable, where they edit that out that I did not realize.
Should I drop in random X-ray facts that I get from Amazon? Charlie Sheen was deemed too young for the role in Top Gun, so he took the lead role in Hot Shots.
The janitor again. Yep.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Dr. Jan Etor.
So fun story. We named a intramural broomball team in college Jan Etor's janitorial staff after the Scrubs character.
So this is the first instance of Jake Taylor breaking into a building he's not supposed to be in, which happens throughout the movie regularly. This one
WKTI in the corner.
I saw it too. Yep.
This one, oh yeah, I love the KTI mention. This one made funnier by the fact that other people broke in with him and make fun of him. I missed the speaker tower.
Oh, the teepee in the stands.
I missed the speaker tower out in the outfield. Like, how can we make it louder in the stadium? Let's just build this enormous speaker tower.
So what did they do with Bernie Chalet during that? How do you make a chalet disappear?
I think this was in the days of no chalet.
Yes, prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm young enough to not know there were times before a
no,
chalet.
The chalet is definitely here for this movie. Absolutely. They covered it up or shot around it. I can assure you in 1989, Bernie Chalet was there.
Okay.
Speaking of Bernie Chalet, I'm drinking a lakefront beer right now.
This restaurant is Gritz's Pizzazz.
Me too.
Which
I'm
does
going
not
to River West
exist
tonight.
anymore. The most implausible thing that happens here is that they allegedly wouldn't let someone from Milwaukee into a restaurant without a jacket. There are no restaurants in Milwaukee where that is the case, as far as I know. So
I don't know. If you go to Bayshore, maybe.
As far as you
especially if you're a famous baseball player.
Flipping the menu over is one of my favorite subtle jokes in here.
Really good. And it's French. This is also our first instance in the movie of Jake being sort of a creepy stalker. So, where it all kicks off. All Sleepless in Seattle style things are like that, though. So what is he drinking?
How far behind you am I?
Those are very
like they just toasted for the second time.
Yeah.
Not that far.
Those are weird champagne glasses or weird wine glasses. One of the two.
They're just bad glasses. Yeah. Oh, okay, there. He sees the girl. I just saw him see the girl.
Yep.
All right, I'm on.
Glad you're caught up.
Watching Vaughn squint over there is pretty fun, too.
Yeah, does she know that is one of my favorite lines in the It's like girlfriend.
It's a weird thing to say, like, my wife, when you were never married to her and are broken up. Like, that's creepy. It's strange. Jake's weird.
Makes me think of the John Mulaney bit about my wife.
Oh yeah.
More like my wife. Get it?
No.
Get it? My wife?
We get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
Maybe I'll get it better.
So, according to X-Ray, this restaurant is currently a Baptist church.
Yep.
Yeah,
I saw that too.
That's right. Thanks for the X-ray read. But yeah, that's true. It's been gone for quite a long time. It used to be owned by a rich restaurateur named Dennis Gratzmacher, who parked his Excalibur car outside all the time. A car that no longer exists outside of a restaurant that no longer exists. Excaliburs are cool, though, if you ever find one that works.
See, so like in an extreme veteran of the major leagues playing in the Mexican League to make better money than he would in minor league ball really isn't the most unheard of thing. It's just uncommon in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, totally true.
I mean, he could have gone to Japan, too.
Yeah. I mean, generally, when you're looking at the veterans in the Mexican League, you're looking at Hispanic players. But
yeah, you probably get some crossover. I do think it's weird that he fell so far. There's probably a better Jake story there because he was allegedly an all-star with Boston a few years ago. And, you know, catchers, especially in the 80s before metrics were good, like, they played forever.
I mean, if Bill Schroeder could be a catcher right now in this canon, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
well, and Taylor was with the Indians 2 years ago. They established that pretty early on too. So what happened in those previous 2 years?
That's a good point. Like, he must have burned some bridges or something.
So we need the Major League prequel.
All right, so this is Nicolay High School's locker room.
Okay, this is Nicolay High School.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You should see the pictures
It's
of
nice.
what is it, Arrowhead right now?
Oh, jeez.
Good job, Nicolay.
Wisconsin high school locker rooms are way better than they ever have any reason to be.
No, by area, depending where you.
Some of them.
Oh,
I'm sure,
yeah. The rich suburban ones.
Yeah. Of course, when my high school I helped coach goes playing in Kimberly, they still put us in like a hallway in their middle school. They're like, you get that. We'll just lock the doors for you. Don't worry. We're like, what?
My high school didn't even have a sports team because it was about a bunch of nerds. Our mascot was a walnut.
That's a story.
That's amazing.
It was named after a Thoreau book.
That's so good. That wins.
That's a good haircut there. That is the 80s haircut.
Yeah. Looking like Rob Deere in the background. Yeah.
By the way, good job by us going this far without mentioning that Corbin Burnson is in this movie and that Corbin Burns is on the Brewers. And the Corbin Burns' son is older than Corbin Burns.
Oh.
Hey-o.
A lot of the side characters in this are L.A. Law side characters too, which is why Corbin Burns was famous at the time. And most of the lesser actors had cameos on it at some point. So everybody cycled through L.A. Law at some point.
Yeah.
I love that when he asks if we can have a prayer, they act like it's the person asking if they can get homework before.
I love that Harris is basically in every sports movie from like 86. When did Hoosiers come out? Like 86, 87, somewhere in there.
Yep.
To this one, like he's in every single sports movie. Because I think
he was in
a minor role in Bull Durham, right?
Yeah.
He ends up playing Dan Devine and Rudy too.
Yep.
Here we go.
Oh, yep, there we are.
The reason we're all here.
Yep.
Bob Uecker playing Bob Uecker, and probably not even any exaggeration at all.
He's just playing the Bob Uecker you don't get to see.
Yep.
Okay, I never noticed that before, that he takes a little bit of the Jack Daniels.
Oh,
Not scripted, it says. It's on the IMDb trivia says that was a thing he improvised on the spot.
That's amazing.
You know, he got into the booth and he was like, you know what would be funny is if I had a bottle of Jack Daniels next to me the whole time, and then drank
nobody
Jack Daniels.
The X-Ray General Trivia. The movie depicts a sparse crowd, but there were generally sellouts even for opening day.
Oh, even four.
so who's pitching the opener for Cleveland here?
The only thing we I assume
it's not Harris.
Is it not Harris? Well, who's their number one? Rafael Roque? I don't know.
He was wearing number 40. That's all I got.
All right, I gotta look this up later, or maybe now.
You guys
That's
seen
crazy.
there's I can't remember where I read it. They had a whole big thing about the last inning in the game, how it's completely impossible based on how their lineup goes.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Oh,
It was in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yep.
We will get there.
I just love like the lineup has all these people that we don't know about everywhere.
Oh, that one's going to review.
Happens.
Totally going to review. So, first baseman, obviously Pete Vukovich, former Brewer pitcher, Cy Young Award winner. Clu Haywood in this
Guy
movie.
who still regularly comes to the tailgate.
This must.
He used to be one of their announcers, and now I can't distinguish his voice from Bill Schrader. They sound exactly the same to me. I feel like Bill Schrader's been slowly turning into Pete Vukovich over the last 2 decades. If they do a Major League remake, Rock will totally be the first baseman in it.
We'll need to get a little just for men to do that, though.
Oh, you can't lead that far against a lefty. Oh, dirty trick,
just-
Pete.
Oh, man.
Bad job all around.
The entire booth of jerk-off motions.
Very good.
There's Dorn
Where
spiking a ground ball.
So Dorn was playing really close to the third baseline there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Weird positioning.
I was thinking that too.
Maybe Lou Brown shifting. Who knows?
Lou Brown.
Oh, God, that
is
swing
actually-
is so
Forward-thinking
bad.
Major League manager.
Yeah.
Terrible swing. He's way out over his leg. There's no power in that swing. I love the number of cups he
The
has
bottle
too.
progress is great.
Can we talk about his jacket with the plaid jacket with a striped shirt too? That's an interesting choice.
On camera, too, where they tell you to wear flat colors.
I assume Euchre's just wearing whatever came out of his closet that day.
They're like,
No, this is what they wear at Mr. Belvedere.
And I've seen Mr. Belvedere naked. Easily one of the best Futurama episodes.
It is. It's great. By the way, Bob Uecker did improvise just a bit outside. That was not scripted. His call.
Who is writing him lines anyhow? Like, let him go. It'd be the best thing you could do.
Actually,
I never noticed that there's just an old lady crunch there.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of their moms. She drove them to the game.
She's
Oh.
in every one of those scenes too.
I have never noticed her. I've been so concentrated on the guy standing.
You're trying to bring a needlepoint to a game now?
Needlepoint is in the game. What about the Stitch bobbleheads?
Ooh. Vukovic with a nice swing.
So that
was a nice swing. Yeah.
the Vukovic line was improvised by him too, because they
was.
just told him to say something that like trash talk, some trash talk you'd use, and the "How's your wife and my kids?"
Yep.
was him.
That is a Vukovic original.
Clue Haywood was based on former Yankees catcher Thurman Munson.
Oh.
Oh, I could see that. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, X-Ray.
Yeah.
By the way,
I do enjoy the too high debate too, though.
there's a
That was fun.
yeah, there's a commercial for Major League that was cut out of the movie footage, where they're in a bar afterwards, Taylor and Vaughn, and Taylor tells him there's a lot of parks that wouldn't have been out of, and Vaughn says name one, and Taylor says Yellowstone.
And then they do the electric slide to "I Will Survive."
Pretty much. Taylor with a nice veteran, leadership here.
This
stopping
is
a big fight
actually a
from
very
erupting.
calm ref fight or ump fight.
Yeah, it is. Whoa, back off.
You showed a lot of heart shaking that off.
With all the steroids that Charlie Sheen was taking, it didn't seem like he had to act very hard on this one.
No.
The crotch grab isn't.
I think he just had to act in his being more calm. Oh.
So the thing about Uecker, and people who are younger than us may not necessarily even know this, he was on, so in the documentary that they did on MLB Network for him, he was on the Johnny Carson show like 130 plus times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do the math on that, because he first started showing up on it in the early 70s, so like 1971, 1972, somewhere in there. And then Carson left the air in like 93. So if you think about it, in about 20 years, he was doing 6+ appearances each and every year. And Carson had a deal where, like, if Uecker was in town for shooting Belvedere or because he was out on the West Coast for the Brewers, like, they would clear space just to have Uecker on because he was Carson's favorite. Like, he just loved him. And the reason Doc Severinsen said that Carson loved him so much was he didn't give a shit. Like, this wasn't his gig. He wasn't there to impress anybody or whatever. He was just there to have fun. And, like, it shone through, and Johnny just absolutely adored him.
Yep, and he's wearing a suit that he wore in a 70s Tonight Show appearance in this movie. So.
Oh, nice.
This is, by the way, instance number 2 of Jake being really creepy. At least he didn't have to break in this time, but you don't just show up at somebody's job.
Yeah.
We don't know which library this is, do we?
Been to look it up, but was not in the research. I don't think it's in
Probably
Milwaukee.
Nicolay High School.
Yeah, maybe. It might not be a Milwaukee one.
I'm just saying, if my wife asked me to read Moby Dick and then broke up with me because of that, and all the cheating, but
Probably mostly the cheating. She does seem to care a lot about that, though. You're right.
My wife asks me to read a ton of books, and I love reading, and I still don't read a ton of the books she asks me to read.
If you have that whole big thing about whales are really fish for just... It's like, I don't know what I'm doing in the book anymore.
Look, it's not even the best Hemingway book.
That is true. It is not.
Oof.
Wait, is that an oof and it's not even the best Hemingway book?
Forget
What
how
is the
many-
best
wait,
Hemingway book?
There are a lot of people in
man.
this library. Like, this town loves
Who are-
reading.
Melvin, maybe? I don't know.
It's Milwaukee. We're actually hiding our drinking.
There were so many people. There were like 100 people. There were more people in the library than at the game.
Tom Berenger considers Flesh and Blood as one of his best films.
I have never heard of that movie.
Neither have I. 1979.
Charlie Donovan is played by a guy named Charles Cyphers, who's in every bad 80s show. Dallas, Matlock, Airwolf, Night Court. Night Court's good, actually. He was in
He's
Sun.
actually one of the non-Charlie Sheen faces that is probably most recognizable.
Probably
in Wesley.
so. He's also in Gleaming the Cube, which is a fantastic movie that does not hold up at all.
Welcome to most 80s movies.
It's actually really good. It's Tony Hawk's first appearance in a movie. It has problematic sequences throughout.
Like a gong when an Asian person appears.
Like 100 of those.
Yeah.
So
Every time I've
where did
seen
they
this-
get this plane? Was this just sitting in storage somewhere? It had all been paid.
Oh,
I don't know,
have
50
you ever
years
seen
ago?
like the old airplanes next to like Mitchell that just like sit on the side?
Oh, I hear us reading a Hustler. Didn't
Yep.
see that in the cable versions either.
Nope.
Every
He's not
time I
cool.
see that airplane, though, I think of Temple of Doom.
It's totally Temple of Doom.
So now they're playing in County Stadium for real, like actual County Stadium with the correct things on there, but they shot it in such a way that you couldn't see the background, so you wouldn't see the Cleveland version of County Stadium.
The Hall of Shame.
Signing a matchbook.
This
Nice
is-
hair.
I miss those red candle holders.
What's up with the
Oh yeah.
like? Why is this basically a like maid outfit for the waitress?
I just noticed that. That's one I've never noticed before.
I've never noticed that too. It looks like one of the German restaurants. That's my guess. That it's supposed to be like a dirndl.
Was that the swinging doors?
I don't. Yeah, the one I know is in here later is fourth base, but that one I don't know.
Yeah.
The plane would fly above the lightning storm, not in the thunderstorm.
Not that plane.
Yeah, it was that plane, yeah. That's not going up that high.
It's the first time we've actually heard the color guy speak.
Oh yeah. Oh,
The taping of the prop is classic.
Classics Illustrated. My dad tells me he used to do a lot of his classics reading in this format.
It's our Spark Notes.
And there's a lot of them. A lot of those are public domain, so you can just make comics of them and not pay anybody.
Cool, and no one will pay you for the comics.
Yeah. That's how it works out. Everybody wins.
So yeah, who else did other baseball movies in this besides Sheen doing 8 Men Out?
Yeah, Sheen's movie directly before this was 8 Men Out, so 2 in a row.
Oh, Haysbert was in Mr. Baseball. He was the other American in Japan.
That is correct.
With-
He was.
Okay,
Ah.
so this right here, this is Third Ward, right?
This is Third Ward.
I know
Yep.
where
Oh,
this is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know exactly where this is.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the festival,
Yeah,
the old...
I was just gonna
entrance
say.
to the
Oh, yeah.
festival down
You could
there.
walk to Summerfest from here.
Yep.
That is a hell
Oh,
of a car.
that car.
That's amazing. Good car casting. All right, here's the second instance of Jake Taylor breaking into a building.
He literally followed a woman into
He's very creepy. I think we might know why he got kicked out of the majors.
I mean, his first appearance is with a woman who, just based on the living conditions he probably paid to be there, sleeping on top of him.
I mean, let's not act like Hayes is without fault here. He's the one who suggested he tailor home from the library.
That's true, but he didn't have to
That's
listen.
true.
You're right, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
they're
were
all
not
creepy
getting
people.
picked off the teams for this.
Here's
at
Jake's.
this-
That was Jake's courage beer.
Yeah. Very forceful push of the button.
This part
Yeah,
is
like-
And
Yeah.
how does an elevator just take you into someone's apartment?
You apparently have not been hanging out with the correct people, Brad. Let me tell you.
No. I get that rich people might have an elevator that goes into their condo. How it just takes you there with no key
That's-
card, no
that's right.
anything.
That's a good.
It's got to be some other thing that gets you up there other than your finger.
You're right
It's just
about
like,
that.
And we're good.
Like, how many people would accidentally hit 11 when they mean to hit 10 as they're drunkenly coming home that night?
Mm-hmm.
Just stumble into your house.
So here, this guy, clearly one of Cleveland's finest. doing some white-collar job in Cleveland, Ohio in 1989.
Literal white-collar job. Like,
Still
that's
wearing
why
a
the shirt.
Still wearing a
The
tie
pink,
at home.
The pink shirt. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to look at old movies where everybody's wearing suits and ties, like proper attire. I guess it isn't even that long ago. It was kind of like within my lifetime.
Also, this is like a very small gathering to be dressed up for, I think.
All right.
Like,
in the commercial for Major League, there was a scene in which Ricky Vaughn, Jake Taylor, Willie Hayes are in the restaurant and they're discussing a home run Ricky gave up to a batter.
I told
Jake
you.
says, yeah. But apparently yeah.
I remember it from when it was on TV.
Yeah.
Who's the actor who plays her fiance here? He looks really familiar to me.
Richard Pickren.
Has he done anything else that I should know? I feel like he just looks really familiar, or maybe it's just the fact that I've seen
clicking
this
on his
movie so
name
many
made
times.
everything pause. It's okay, I'll wait 10 seconds. Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, U.S. Marshals. Second season of ER.
That's it.
He looks like he would have been corporate raider number 3 in every single 80s movie. Like The Secret of My Success.
Yep,
like,
he's well cast there.
every single 80s movie.
And that old man's name is Arthur Holloway in the movie, but Orman.
They had a team.
That woman in the purple dress is the most late 80s woman I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that is like a stereotype.
But then she's pretty thirsty here too, and she starts.
Oh yeah,
firing. How good
are you?
Yeah, that.
I make the league minimum. Aw, poor Jakey.
Which right now is like 600.
What was the league minimum in 1999?
I was just wondering that.
It's going to be a lot lower than you think. I think it's going to be 1,000.
I bet it's like 85,000. That's my guess.
68 grand.
Oof.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even with inflation, that's still a kick in the pants.
Considering what they're making now, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy they're making what they're making now because I'd rather the money go to the players than the billionaires.
Wow, the fiance, he stopped acting in 2001 and then didn't have anything until 2014. Big jump.
I'm just going through on IMDb and just looking at all the names of the people who you don't know, and it's like...
Is this the original idea for Fraser Crane right here?
Oh, this is totally 80s yuppie stuff. Like, this is, yeah, totally stereotypical.
Yep. How did you not know you were walking into that one? Jeez.
Classic writing.
It's where we learned that they're elite level swimmers together. Isn't that cute?
We loved each other because we were athletes. Then we realized that we had nothing else in common.
Yep. That apartment looks terrible.
I love how every bougie apartment or condo in the 80s had to have a classic composer playing in the background.
Also, ferns too. Lots of ferns.
Helpfully public domain, so.
Well, not that recording. That recording was 1984 at the Met.
So, did Nolan... Very nice. Did Nolan Ryan have to get sent down to the minors because of lack of control? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Did Nolan Ryan need glasses?
No.
Nolan Ryan also struck a crap ton of people out.
I feel like this is not a true story he's about to tell, and he gets saved from himself.
Well, let's check.
I mean, I get past.
He did in 1966. He was 19. He came up for 3 innings. Then he went down until 68, and then he never went down.
Okay, well, I mean, that's just normal minor league progression.
No, shh. The narrative.
I think he's just trying to get him to look in the corner. I mean, like he's just trying to make him look at something over there and see how he's reacting.
God, that 1.69 ERA in 81. Oh, because it was only 149 innings. Because that was the shortened year. Duh.
Yep. So, how do you go to an optometrist that can make your lenses, but that's the only frames that you can get.
I mean,
this is a pre-lens crafter's world, Paul.
Yeah.
Got the BCGs, as we called them in the Army. Just the burst control glass.
The Drew Carey special.
Yeah,
Cleveland.
Cleveland rocks, baby.
Ohio.
The first theme song was better.
Moon over Parma.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like my favorite part of this movie when I was 10. So, yeah, when I first came
So
out.
it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, he said up your butt. Ha ha ha.
So it is kind of it's weird that Jobu is vengeful, but doesn't actually help you. Because
He's like me.
he gets.
He's also very expressive.
I guess it's an accurate depiction of religion. But
Like, why does Jobu look like he has blackface on, though? Why is he like a caricature of...
Yep.
He's like Harpo Marx in blackface.
no one
somehow.
put any thought into it.
It looks like if they were like, well, what would Bob Uecker look like in blackface? So then they like were like, that's your god now, Jobu.
That's a good look from Uecker.
So is
there.
he
I like
just
that
drinking
one.
a Mai Tai?
Oh yeah.
Totally. Oh, we missed it earlier when Rachel Phelps tells Charlie Donovan the plan for the season that they're getting a 60,000 seat stadium in Miami. That's
Yeah.
that is hilarious.
Oh yeah, because Miami is renowned for filling its stadiums.
Well, and the funny part too is that where they were coming from, Cleveland Municipal was what, a 90,000 seat stadium?
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
it was huge, cavernous place.
crap.
Oh, I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, it was like the biggest.
I
baseball
knew
stadium in
that like
Vegas.
older baseball stadiums, especially the cookie cutter stadiums, were pretty substantial attendance.
So that was interesting. The subtitles just popped up showing that the organ was playing a song called "The Old Gray Mare."
The old
Yep.
gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be. Yep, that's a song.
Yep.
In a couple of
Dawn,
press
yeah.
box scenes, Harry Doyle is shown with cups bearing the Miller Lite beer. During the 1980s, Bob Uecker, who played Doyle, appeared in several commercials. That's the worst fact ever.
That is terrible.
I'm very disappointed. My Harry Doyle bobblehead is on my desk at work, which I could not go retrieve before this due to the lockdown here in Ohio.
Yeah.
So
I keep thinking about how dead my plant is at work.
Poor plants. So I did ask John Judge to be on this, and he was too busy. But I'm sad because I wanted to ask him if they could quantify catchers talking trash to hitters while they were hitting for this part here. Because I bet it happens all the time, and I bet some hitters are better and some are worse than at shaking off the insults and random distractions. Like this guy's clearly
See,
awful
I
at
associated
it.
this scene with the Michael Jordan scene in Space Jam, where the catcher's like fastball down the middle swing.
You figure the catcher's got to be talking all the time. Their mouths are always covered. They can say whatever they want, and
Yeah,
no one on
no
TV
one-
knows it.
Absolutely.
So you just keep going. You have to figure it's happening all the time.
Also, good
So
job.
the
by
guy who played Rexman died
know
in 1993.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Wow, way to bum this one out.
By the way,
His name was Roger Eunice.
poor Roger. Bad job by
Yeah.
Taylor there, by the way. He threw his mask away too early. You have to wait till the ball's closer before you do that so you don't trip over it.
That's why you need those hockey style masks.
I like how the guys had reflective shades on their, and wearing the white coats and gloves behind them there.
Indeed. So Doyle,
Lakeshore Drive.
That looks like
it's totally Lakeshore Drive, right?
Mace Hayes' car there.
Yeah.
This is in Whitefish Bay, actually.
Yeah.
This house.
So-
So my wife thinks she found it. She was looking around
Oh,
from
nice.
earlier, and she thinks she found the house. I'm not going to put the address out there because that's being stalkery, but we're fairly certain from the
Something
sky,
Jake Taylor would do.
It would, yeah, it would be a Jake Taylor. But we think we found it. So, and it is in Whitefish Bay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, White Folks Bay, of course.
I had some friends that I went to. I was in choir with in college, and they one of them's from Whitefish Bay, and said, "Yeah, the house is down this way in that direction." We're like, "Oh, all right." They all know which one it is.
So this is the woman who plays Suzanne Doran's name is Stacey Carroll. This is her only movie. She's in another movie called Sable where she plays woman victim, quote unquote. That's it.
Yikes.
She's not in anything else, so I don't know where she came from, but she's got a very major role in this. So, pretty weird.
She also looks like 3 different people depending on when you see her.
True,
this
also.
right now looks like the typical wife of a athlete, and then when she ends up with Charlie Sheen,
lot
she
of
looks
those
very
are
different.
old.
And then she looks like in the scene where she is telling Roger about what happened. She looks like very like Lady Macbeth, like Machiavellian.
Which is a long way.
My
of
wife
saying
is
she's pretty
judging
good in
me
this.
for the amount of beer I drank.
It's a pretty
Coffee,
serious
anyone?
line there.
Doran looks very unconcerned. I don't think it worked.
Character error. When Jake confronts Roger in his house after tanking the next to last play in the Oakland game, Jake says he didn't come up with the ball. Riker, it disappeared.
Oh,
Never
no.
know.
This is going to be an amazing podcast.
One of the best things is when you watch movies like this, but you watch them on just like regular TV, and they always have to tone down all the language.
Yeah.
I just love the weird euphemisms all the time.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
I do think.
I mean,
this is-
the one at the very end of this movie is the worst dubbed audio track ever. I think
It really is.
About Stranger in the Alps.
Here's Janitor again.
Yep, janitor for third appearance. What is the dub? Strike this
Guy out.
Fella, I think. Strike this fella out, I think.
Yeah, fella. Yep, that makes sense.
I luckily actually had this movie taped off HBO on a beta, on a tape with Gremlins 2 and The Naked Gun. So watched that tape a lot.
Appreciate Lou Brown just not giving a shit here.
Pretty good. Weird decision to show up in the locker room right now, but whatever.
White person touching black man's hair holds true.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ouch. Not great. Jeez.
I just got a cup of coffee for some reason. It's just like
The worst part of this is, like, if any other major league owner would have learned that you can make a team successful by being this hard on all of them, they would have taken all their therapeutic equipment out league wide.
Oh yeah.
They would have spread.
That's
like
the new Moneyball.
Yep, the new Moneyball.
Yeah.
No hot tubs.
Whatever, ice baths are better for you anyway.
Yeah.
This seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah, this always
Yeah.
bothered me as a kid. I'm like, he's gonna chop off all of his toes.
Not to mention the carbon
Toes
monoxide
if
poisoning.
how dirty that water was. That water looked like it had been pulled from a river.
Yeah.
Like, the jets aren't the thing that makes the hot tub healthy.
Also,
So, important note here: this is clearly a complete game by Eddie Harris because Harry Doyle just said Vaseline ball on the final pitch of the game.
he did. He moves.
Wow,
to,
good catch.
He moves to increasingly gross substances as the season rolls on.
Yep.
She came to a ball game. She must love me.
Okay, now in fairness, the idea of him playing car to her place is. And I was so excited when they were going to bring those back last year. It was like a thing, and then like one guy used it, and then it just went away.
Yeah.
No, they said it was only for like one game.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, so we tried to figure out where this was. The building we figured out is 808 and 810, and we tried really hard to figure out where this was and had no success. I think Amy thinks by Ogden, maybe.
Oh, really? It looks a little like Yankee Hill to me.
Okay, I can see Yankee Hill.
Yeah, it looks a little like the Farewell Prospect area.
That would be that would be right in my neighborhood.
God.
So would you have got
Like, you're getting pulled over in that thing. You couldn't keep up with her. You're on I-94.
Well, given how bad the team is, it's not like the cops just going to let you go.
Absolutely not. You're a crappy catcher for a bad team.
Just saying, they didn't even let Giovanni Gallardo go.
So again, this is the third instance of Jake Taylor breaking into a building.
Yeah, another place where he can just walk right in, and it's like you're right in the house.
Yep.
Apparently.
Like, I get that Wisconsin is Canada Junior, but we do lock doors. There's some control.
Just disturbing.
Call the cops. Well, Tom Berenger does have sort of a nasty aura about him too. That he's played the movie Villains, I believe.
So he'd be like the Russell Branion, right? He'd break into her house afterwards, turn all her furniture upside down, turn the
Maybe-
AC down to 40.
Maybe this is where Russell got the idea.
God, it ruins my memories of Russell Brand because I love him so much.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
so mad I know
At
that.
least-
2008.
At least it's like not abuse. It's just like weird abuse. Like, it's not physical abuse. It's just like, what the fuck?
What kind of artwork does she have in her place? That's weird.
Oh, that looks like manga-y. She into that octopus porn?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he very clearly was kind of sweaty after the game, and then just came over here. He's like, this is gonna be a great idea. for
Hey,
me."
the bullpen cart's open. He could cool off.
She does have books.
Does he still
so
have
good job
his?
there.
Yeah.
Does he still have his shin guards on?
The working
think
title, he took them off. Like, that was part
Yeah.
of the scene, right?
Yeah.
The working title for Major League was Dead Last.
They can't use that. That's a horror movie. Like,
Then the general trivia: Bob Uecker in 6 seasons with the Milwaukee Braves, Cardinals,
that art right
Phillies,
there.
and Braves.
That's some sort of French art. Yeah. That's
Okay.
weird.
And the world's skinniest grandfather clock.
Yeah, like a corner grandfather clock like that. I've never seen anything like that before.
Oh, I am like 5 seconds behind. Cover to cover, babe.
So when I actually read Moby Dick in college, and
Don't
they got to
lie.
the que- and they
No,
got to-
you
I
didn't
did,
read the entire thing. No one has. Ever.
I did, and when they got to the Queequeg's coffin part, I'm like, no, I get
Oh.
that joke.
There you go.
Quick, coffin! Quick, coffin!
It was nobody. It was Quick Higgs Coffin.
I mean, it's an awkward kiss.
Yeah. It's all very
Oh.
problematic.
I just heard the Queequeg coffin thing.
There you go. Oh, you passed my literacy test. Good for you.
If he got it wrong, what would she have done? I mean, would she have just kicked him out right then and there?
I think she probably does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's caught dead in a lie there. I think that's over. Jake's Classics Illustrated saved him.
Yeah, I mean, he can recover from the cheating,
Wait.
but if he still hasn't read Moby Dick, then that's
Wait,
game over.
Queequeg
Now we-
guys?
Now we got to ask him about Song of Hiawatha.
Did they just spoil that Queequeg dies?
Spoilers for Moby Dick.
God! It's only been out for like 200 years. God damn.
If it's in public domain, I think we can not worry about spoilers.
Posh front office.
What major league team has ever traveled via bus?
And Queequeg didn't
Dog,
die.
a dog in Donovan's lap.
Ooh,
Oh.
Deer Slayer.
That's so The Natural.
Oh,
By the way, The Natural's terrible.
I mean, it's a great throw of a magazine, though.
Yeah, my brother had never seen The Natural until a couple weeks ago. He watched it and was like, this is kind of interesting at the start. And then he's like, oh, this is getting really, really bad really fast. Yep.
Marlboro. Remember cigarette advertisements?
Oh man.
I'm gonna go from reading comics about classic novels to reading the Wall Street Journal, because I'm Roger Dorn.
That's Roger in a nutshell. Crime and Punishment, very good. I bet that was a very good graphic novel.
Now I'm ahead of you.
Oof, they got a Bud advertisement in the stadium. Good for them.
Yeah.
This is actually Old Yankee Stadium, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When this guy sneezes, he looks like a party favorite.
So good.
Lines.
So good.
So good.
He's a convicted felon, isn't he, Monty? Doesn't
One
say
of the
he is.
players Gary Doyle mentions before the home run is, it's gone.
There's the line. Tomlinson's going to need a visa to catch this one.
Oh, Jesus.
Therefore, establishing that Tomlinson is the left fielder on this team.
Yep.
I love that they taped the visiting coach's name on the door.
The masking tape. Oh, man.
So good. Lou's dressed up for New York. Good for him.
So they won't pay for anything, but they'll buy his Indians blazer.
That's amazing.
No, he had to buy the patch in the team store and iron it on.
That's
Can
incredible.
you imagine, like, yeah, they're boning me, but I have such goddamn team pride that I just gotta get it.
This is the team pride for Lucene. It's like, everybody's good. Brought him along. We're going to win it. We're smoking.
Oh, the short sleeve button-ups.
We're smoking indoors.
All over short sleeve button-ups.
Love that blue-green on his tie. So nice.
Here's a
This is
part.
the fanciest we've seen Sheen.
Here's the part that doesn't show up on the edits for TV.
Yep.
Did they cut the whole thing?
No, they just cut the last
No, they
part
just
of it.
cut away right as he rips off the last piece, I think. After the awesome 80s montage.
Nice job with the bubble gum also, providing an
Even
alternative.
me?
By the way, Cannon very poor to Major League 2 with Doran being a useful offensive player who's out for a big free agent contract. Going to team owner the following season.
That's right. I forgot that.
So when Uecker
Chase our
talks about
girlfriends
these,
until they date us.
when Uecker talks about these, he talks about the third one being really bad, but the first and second ones being good. It's like, no, Bob, really, it's the first one.
Corbin Burnson is cousin of Rod Burnson, known as California's #1 police news specialist for Fox 11 News.
Wow.
Corbin Burnson also had a cameo.
So I
on
just
Star
got to the
Trek: Next
reveal of
Generation.
the stand-up.
Wait, Corbin Burnson had a cameo on Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yeah,
How
he
far
played
am I
a.
behind you guys?
A lot.
I don't know. He played a member of the Q. It was the episode where Q got kicked out for being an asshole, basically.
All right, I'm at
And
the ground
Corbin-
ball scene now.
That's awesome.
Corbin Burnson shows up at the end and gives him his powers back.
Waxing of a bat. Am I caught up?
No, they just took a piece off of.
This is my
the,
favorite part
the
of Dorn
dress.
training.
Come on!
Now they're
that's so
tearing
good.
What is
pieces
he-
off.
He's becoming a.
Yeah, you're about 10 seconds back.
By the way, Corbin Burns, pretty 80s ripped for just a random guy, you know? Like,
They were probably all on steroids, Paul.
well,
I mean,
no,
realistically.
Sheen was, but not everybody was. Eddie Harris wasn't, obviously.
I've decided that I want this song from the montage in some part of my life, like some big event, whether it's like, you know, a wedding reception or something like that. It's got to be.
I agree with
It's
you.
got to be
so,
there in
it's
some
good. It's
some
perfect.
big event.
I also
Yeah.
I like all of the
Oh.
plays they come up with for newspaper frames. They're all great. Like
Yeah.
especially the two
Yeah.
people coming home at once with Hayes trailing.
Have you guys made it to the
That's a great
commercial
one.
yet?
Oh, that's not good.
Ooh boy. Ooh boy.
So have you gotten to the commercial?
We're just about there, but not quite yet.
Yeah, I
No.
think you're
No.
out.
I'm going to pause at the end of the commercial, then you guys let me know when you get to the end of the commercial.
So
Nice unibrow behind Taylor.
Oh,
the
geez.
Dorn thing here is so good. That is such an inspired choice to do that.
Still in commercial?
Yep, still in commercial. And Dorn's like bad acting, good acting is perfect.
Right, yeah, he did that perfectly, and it's because he's going to be the guy after his
And
career.
done.
He wants to be like an announcer,
Yeah.
right?
Hit play.
Hey, John, we're getting a little echo on your end.
Yeah.
Ah, the crossing leg clap.
I was trying to figure out where in Milwaukee this is.
Oh, that's a good slow-mo.
I'd like to say that people don't just wave at each other because they have similar baseball gear on, but it really is to real life.
So the name of the song is Pennant Fever.
Okay.
Oh, janitor at fourth base.
Ah, janitor.
Making friends with people finally. Now, at what point would you have?
It's just the box she is in. It's always the box I want to sit in County Stadium. I love that you can see like no one else is there when they're filming that.
Oh, here's the one with Hayes
that.
trailing
So
behind.
It's perfect.
Oh,
Also, that's that headline. Ugh.
and then the announcer,
Yeah.
none of this is good. It's all bad.
But it's totally 80s. Hell, even 90s. That's just a great use of Photoshop for the 80s.
Yeah, so here's Dorn's wife again, who looks like a completely different person.
Yep, totally.
And in the photo that's next to the TV, she looks like a totally different person.
Yeah.
I always thought that line that the TV guy has, did he forget what his line was and just kind of stretch it out to try to remember which team he was talking about? With the Yankees.
I think so. It's pretty weird. Still on the bus after all that time.
Just what news broadcast has ever been at a team's hotel?
I can see that being a thing that would have happened.
Yeah.
Like in this
It wasn't
era.
a private event. They clearly had several other people who were not team members there.
Yeah. We should take this moment to praise Lou Brown for moving Vaughn both out of the rotation as a reliever, back and forth as he's needed. Very modern.
Once again, Lou Brown.
A good manager would start him in center field.
Oh, the good old days of the County Stadium bleachers.
Remember when it didn't have a dome?
I was at a game once there during
I remember
a
sitting there
severe
through
thunderstorm
rainouts.
warning where
Remember when I couldn't walk around the entire stadium?
Remember when you could just actually interact with the ball players?
My first game at County Stadium, it snowed on us.
Oof. Yep, that sounds about right.
It's great.
Well, what was that? July?
My first game at County Stadium, I just watched Bernie and waited for the balloons to come out. Oh, she's gone. Why are you in there? She's
I think
gone.
it's a vacated apartment of some sort. Even the landlord doesn't care if you go in there. Like, that's fine. People do it all the time.
Like, he should have walked in and like a bum walked out of the shower.
Just somebody sleeping on the floor in the middle of nowhere. What's going on here?
All
Where'd
right,
she go?
praise for Charlie Sheen's comic timing. The "check please" line is pretty damn good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, nice work finding an empty bar where a player's wife knows where to find you.
Charlie Sheen was way ahead of us on Cougars. His apartment looks like a college dorm room.
That's what you'd expect, though.
Yeah, that is totally in keeping.
This part of the plot actually does not pay off very much. Like, not much happens because of it.
I do just love her nonchalant. Oh, hey, Jake.
Not to get into the technical stuff of it, but is there anyone else getting an echo?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, now it went away.
Yeah.
Yep, it seems to have stopped.
Well,
Mention it and
again,
it disappears.
sorry about the echo, everybody.
A completely different person. A completely different
She
person.
does. Man, that was weird.
So clearly there's been some issues brewing between her and Roger for a long time, right?
That's part of the prequel.
Yeah, one of the many great stories.
All right, so we get to hear what happened to Jake in the 2 years between stints with the Indians. We find out what set Suzanne against Roger.
And then they're also going to do the Sleepless in Seattle romance side of it. Where
Well, is it a long-standing thing, or is it just when she sees him in the broadcast? Because she seems surprised.
Oh shoot, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we were having our echo problems during that scene. So, but she does seem surprised and angry. I mean, maybe it's the last straw, but
yeah,
it definitely was whatever broke the camel's back.
So he's just getting that massage to get the oils on him for his pitches, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how Eddie does it. Serrano wearing a cross now, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was wearing a cross for a while there.
Oh, was he?
He had a cross on pretty early on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did they ever find a game in Cleveland that had that many people?
Just don't speed up a helicopter shot. It's so bouncy.
So many people in headgear. It's so bad.
Well, it always bothered me that they didn't bother trying to actually get a overhead shot of County Stadium, because clearly that is not the same stadium that they're playing in.
It is not.
So Harris, I forgot that Harris adopts Joe Boo, and Serrano is,
and he's converted to voodoo.
Right.
Well, in the second one, isn't he a Buddhist?
Yes, he is. Also very sensitive. So one of my biggest life regrets is not actually going to do this, because I have a lot of friends who did, and they can all pick themselves out by stopping and pausing the VHS on it. My friend Jamie is in center field in a purple jacket at some point, but they filmed this when it was like 95 degrees out, and they got a ton of people to show up for it. So there's just a ton of Milwaukee here. I mean, it's like Woodstock. Everybody claims to have been there if they were of the right age.
Yeah, I was there. I was one, but I was there.
He was one, but he was there.
My dad has told me he was there, but my dad is a chronic liar.
Yeah.
It's like the ice ball.
And before we get to the super dramatic things, we should mention that because of a big snowstorm in, I think it was 2007, the Indians actually played a home game at Miller Park with its dome there. And Ryan, you went, right?
I was at a couple of those games, yeah.
How was the atmosphere, even though nobody had a rooting interest?
I mean, it was weird. People were actually cheering for the Indians because they were the home team, and people felt like some sort of obligation to do it. So there was some of that there. but it was snowing here too at the same time. So like I remember driving through a snowstorm to get there. We only lived like just like less than a mile and a half away, and it was still a huge pain to get down there. So yeah.
All right.
I think the big thing I remember from those games is there were a ton of very, very complicated waves.
That's true. The Indians were blown away by the waves. There's a lot of stories written about it after they did the University of Wisconsin slow motion, fast motion waves.
I would say it was basically the Camp Randall wave, right?
It was the Camp Randall wave, and everybody wrote about it. Just for posterity, the Indians closer that year was Joe Borowski, and he got the Wild Thing play in. He led the American League in saves with 45, despite a 5.14 ERA on the season, which tells you all you need to know about closers. Oh, poor Eddie.
Doug Melvin always said, like, you can find any closer who will get you 35 saves.
Yep.
It's about if you can get someone to 45, and that just proves, Doug, you were a little short on that statement.
By the way, we missed it during Echo Time, but at one point Uecker called one of Eddie's pitches a KY ball, which is one of the secret dirtiest jokes in the whole movie. So,
I don't get it.
Yeah,
What's KY?
Exactly.
Google it.
Oh, poor Jake, grabbing his knee.
Killing Yankees.
Well, and we also missed a very cringeworthy Uecker comment there.
Oh, did
That
we?
home run.
Off the reservation?
Yep.
Oh, so bad. He says it a few times in the movie. Not a good home run call.
All right. So is this where we start talking about the batting order?
We should do it, yep, because otherwise we're going to run out of time.
All right. So we've established that Taylor comes up before Dorn.
Yep.
Dorn singles. We're in the bottom of the seventh here.
So the batting
So you
order
got
is
Taylor, Dorn, and then
Serrano
Serrano comes up.
And by the way, just so everybody knows, Ben Lindbergh of Effectively Wild and The Ringer wrote a piece dissecting this in great detail that you can read when I post this podcast. I'll post it in the show notes. But Text, to his great credit, when I mentioned it, could explain it spontaneously without having read the article.
So the reason for that is I have a tradition where I watch this movie every year during the first week of baseball season. And I actually have not done it the last 2 years for whatever reason. In 2018, I was busy and I just never got around to doing it, and so I didn't watch it. And then the Brewers obviously made the NLCS in 2018. So last year I decided to skip it again just for superstition's sake, and they made the playoffs again. So, but 1 year, a couple of years ago, I had it loaded onto a tablet and I was watching it on a plane, and it started to really bother me. And I was, I had a couple hours to kill, and I'm thinking, I can't. I want to figure out what the batting order looks like for the Indians in this game. So I started going through it. And I'm like, okay, well, we got Hayes leading off, Taylor's batting second. We'll figure that out coming up. Dorn's third, Serrano's fourth, and then I'm working through it from the seventh to the eighth, and I think, like, shit, we're missing an out. Like, there's not enough outs there for Hayes to come up with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. If Serrano hits this home run with 2 outs in the bottom of the seventh.
Yep, and that is correct. They do. Lou Brown does skip a person in the order to get his leadoff guy up, which, good for him. Nice work.
Just saying, in the 80s, for a guy to carry his bat around and watch a home run for as long as he did, he would be plunked so many times.
By the way, to get the shot of him hitting the home run, Haysbert hit a home run. He was actually a pretty good hitter for an actor, and he actually did hit one out of the, like, he had a legit home run on that camera capture down the left field line. So that's why everybody is actually going crazy when they film a lot of the camera scene or the crowd scenes for it. Anyway, if you read Ben Lindbergh's piece, he writes it in the style of actually evaluating it as a strategic move, which makes it even better. So, and crediting, like, he rips on Lou Brown for old school tactics, but then it's like, but the old man had a few tricks up his sleeve, and he got away with skipping a guy in the order. And oh, poor Eddie.
Working on a 7-hitter.
And by the way, since I mentioned the Indians' first baseman earlier, he's only shown in one shot with his name facing the camera, and it's a clip shot of an actual game with Terry Francona. So canonically, the Indians' first baseman is Terry Francona.
Wow.
Yep.
Former Brewer Terry Francona.
Indeed. Also, Jerry Augustine is on the Yankees in this game. I think he might be the starting pitcher, but I can't tell because I'm bad with faces. But he's the other Brewer along with Vukovic, who's actually on the Yankees in this game. This is such a good manager-pitcher interaction. I can get one more. No, you can't. Go away. You're obviously very old and out of Vagisil. Go away.
Now, kiss. So much chest hair coming out of that jersey.
How old do you think Harris is supposed to be? Like 30?
Like 45, which is like not supposed to be pitching even in the game still.
Isn't he basically supposed to be Gaylord Perry? Like, isn't that the gag?
I mean, with all the junk, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he played in Cleveland for a long time too, didn't he?
Do you think they actually
there's a
bought
clock
concessions?
He did, yes. I don't know that. By the way, just real quick, my show notes battery crashed, but this song was made famous by the Trogs. It was recorded in 1966, and it was #1 for a while. This version is by X. So, just so everybody knows, that's this Wild Thing. This, of course, is from an era when all pop songs... There's quad graphics, by the way. When all pop songs sounded exactly the same. Wild Thing is basically Louie Louie, which is basically 100 other songs. So, but, good entrance song. Nice.
You know what? 80s music sucks.
Well, this isn't 80s music. This is 60s music.
I know it's 60s music, but I'm just saying 80s music sucks.
By the way, did closers have entrance music before this?
That's a good question. I think the early close music...
I thought Raleigh Fingers did have entrance music.
Well, everybody has music they walked into, but was it like a thing for the pitcher to have? Did people have a theme song?
The first one I know of is Trevor Hoffman with Hell's Bells.
With Hell's Bells and Mariano with Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
And that was after this. So did this start it? I don't think Eckersley had one, did he? If he did, I don't know what it was.
I couldn't say. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that Hoffman made it a thing. Like, that was...
Well, I'm pretty sure Charlie Sheen made it.
Well, yeah.
I'm Googling it.
All right.
How Sparky Lyle launched the tradition of closer entrance music.
Sparky Lyle.
Wow. That's old school.
I mean, it couldn't have been much of a tradition.
8 years before Hell's Bells, 20 years before Enter Sandman. 1972.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Very tense.
And I mean, Charlie Sheen would have kicked his ass. We all agree, right? Like that. If this had come to blows, Charlie.
Well,
Sheen
he's on steroids.
He's on steroids, and he's much younger. He would have won. Yes.
Yeah, this is not a Nolan Ryan beating the shit out of Robin Ventura situation.
No, it is not.
You imagine that today with all the HD cameras on there reading everybody's lips, nobody bothering to put a glove up. They'd be like, it would have been amazing.
I just love that.
Clue Haywood.
Nolan Ryan beating Robin Ventura up is still my favorite thing in the world, just because of how quickly he gets him in a headlock.
Sam Miller just wrote about that and was like, yeah, basically Robin Ventura throws his head into
He
Nolan
does.
Ryan's,
It's weird.
Robin Ventura is going for this weird tackle, head in a headlock, punch, till everyone else gets there.
Good movement on that fastball. By the way, did anybody ever own an Omega watch?
I might have.
Wow, really? Okay. I never met anybody who did. And, they were the clock on County Stadium forever.
I mean, I've seen them. I just haven't owned one.
So he calls for the fastball every time, but Sheen also varies where he's throwing it pretty well. Like, first one's down away, second one's high and tight. Like, This is a good bit of
Yeah,
pitching.
Freddie
from him.
Peralta would be proud.
This is a total Freddie Peralta all fastball performance. You're right about that.
Give him the heater.
All right, time to tap all those steroids. Is Taylor standing up a little bit, like modern catchers do?
My X-ray trivia is Bob Uecker is a WWE Hall of Famer.
That's true. Getting choked by Andre the Giant. That's...
And the President of the United States. He in there too?
What a terrible pitch. Haywood, bad job by you.
But at least he looks like a pitcher, unlike just about.
He does.
Well, unlike Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
The rest of the pitchers in this movie aren't that bad, but
Yeah.
Harris.
I've
Nobody
seen him.
looks as bad as Tim Robbins and Bull Durham.
No
That's fair.
catcher and pitcher ever celebrate in tandem. They all celebrate separately.
So now we get one of our most interesting, outside of the lineup, one of our most interesting snapshots other than that, which is Duke Simpson's line, which we're going to get in just a second here. This almost home run. So close. Prompts going to the Duke, the closer for the Yankees, who is 11-1 on the season for some reason. With a
I mean, it
1.37
was the 80s. It was
ERA.
a different era. This is at the beginning of the Eckersley and LaRussa bullpen era. So, like, most people are still operating more in Raleigh Fingers bullpen era,
Sure.
as opposed to the Eckersley bullpen model.
That's true, but that's a lot.
He did have 118 innings pitched too, so
That's just a lot of
In probably
opportunities
like
to win.
55.
This is also the 80s where starting pitchers won most of the games, and you get your middle guys who win games, but they're usually like 7-2 or 11.
Challenge it.
11's a lot. Anyway,
I feel like on that shot of Hayes down the line, you can really see what you're talking about earlier about Wesley Snipes not being a very good athlete.
I feel like on the
DMJ CV4.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that my show notes did run out of batteries, but Duke Simpson is also a major league player. I just can't remember who.
Willie Miller.
Thank you, Willie Miller.
General trivia. Bob Uecker, his last name is pronounced Euchre.
That's a good one.
God damn it, Amazon. You had someone write that.
Very interesting. He's like putting on, like when he's getting ready to steal, he's like putting on.
Yep.
Is it new gloves, or he took his gloves off and put them back on? You're like, a lot of guys just take the gloves off to run, putting on. new.
Earlier he establishes that he has his stolen base gloves.
He pins them up when he steals a base.
Yeah, he's also like batting, so he takes them off when he bats, and then
Yeah.
it's just weird.
Yep, he has his batting gloves
No,
in his
he's
back
got
pocket
separate
right now.
batting. Who else
It's
has
like
ever-
now how they have the don't jam your finger glove.
Yeah, has anybody ever just worn a base stealing glove?
Willie Mays Ace.
That's
Yes.
This is
it.
canonical.
He started it. It sounds like something Ricky Henderson would do, but I don't think he did.
Oh, he did.
It does sound like a Ricky Henderson thing.
Yeah, it would be. If anybody, and the hat underneath the batting helmet. So great.
Also, he doesn't look like he's that safe on this.
It's just poor execution of the hit and run.
I don't think Willie's that.
Oh no,
good.
that throw should have beat him.
Yeah.
It's a terrible tag.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have done that shot again and gotten a.
No Javier Baez take there.
But one thing that we will quickly learn in just a minute here is that Willie's not good at sliding.
Con Geary is a New York Yankees player, and he appears in the dugout.
By the way, one of the problems with Rachel Phelps in this movie is at some point when it looks like they're going to make it, you got to shift gears and just, rake in cash from playoffs and sign ads up and things like that. You can tank again in a few years, but it's the ship has sailed. Stop rooting against them.
So I actually have a whole thing about that. There was an alternate ending to this movie. The actual original.
We should
ending of
mention
this
that.
thing. Yep. She
Which
was
is-
supposedly actually putting together a good team, and trying to inspire them to be good.
Which is funny because it all starts with an individual meeting no one else attends or says she.
Yeah. How many guys bat with no ear flap, even in the 80s?
Oh, that's weird. Maybe John Olerud took his. Wait, that is weird. You should have an ear flap on your batting helmet. Where did he even get that batting helmet?
It's
I,
like he's
I pity anyone who doesn't get the Olerud joke,
Did
though.
he get it from Craig McTavish? What the hell?
with the backward catcher helmet, and he's like put it on forward, like he has no idea what he's ever. And then he pisses off the pitcher just so he'll go right at his open ear.
I like the calling a shot. It probably gets the third baseman to play back. It's strategically
Also,
valuable.
that Cleveland sign. Did somebody just forget how to write an uppercase L?
Janitor, third at fourth base. This plays so
along
great.
with random 80s punks.
Yep,
You got to establish a timeline for this.
that bar is amazing. I want to go there. Which I guess I can. I think that one's still open.
Yep. Just be careful what you order. It's going to be expensive, and you realize it when they
Got
don't
it.
post prices.
So he gets a great jump. Like I feel like this
This
play.
is a terrible bunt.
It's a bad bunt. But he was
Ugh.
playing. He was playing back, and I do feel like he was playing back enough that he might have beaten it. Hayes did get a good jump. I want to see this play with a super fast guy on second sometime with like Billy Hamilton or Terrence Gore to see if it
It's an
actually can happen.
He's got his leg kick all the way up before he turns, though. I mean, it's not amazing. It's pretty good, though.
Good job by Taylor beating it out.
Yeah.
A little overly dramatic on the falling down.
Here's where you see
Vuk's
in
arm.
his very classic pitching motion.
Yep. So here's the worst slide
Nice,
ever.
nice soft toss
Just
in.
terrible slide.
Oh yeah.
Because like if he goes in lead foot first, he's safe by a ton.
Yep.
Like why would you do that? Yeah, you stayed away.
Because it's not dramatic.
I feel like
Strictly because it's not dramatic.
I feel like Wesley Snipes was like happy that he did that much of a split and wanted to like leave that in as an example that he wasn't totally unathletic.
No cheering in the press box is apparently not a rule in the major leaguers.
I got the Indians dress on.
So here's the janitor
Janitor, yep.
hugging.
I don't like punk people. Oh wait, it doesn't matter.
I like that the secret other arc of the movie is the janitor overcoming his biases and hugging punks. part of the prequel can be him being wronged
Yeah, part
by
of the
a punk.
prequel is why he hates punks.
Exactly. Oh, there's.
I miss fans celebrating on the field.
I forgot
I mean,
about
I'm happy
Dylan
it doesn't
punching him.
happen.
Yeah, you get a little bit of impact from the whole thing, but that's about it.
I remember in 1982 when I ran on the field.
Nobody stormed the field in her section. Good thing.
That one giant guy in the gray. That's it.
She's really just showing off her very long fingers.
Also, just want to point out there is a beer vendor behind her still selling beer in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, he just came back to watch the game. He never reported back in.
he has a full tray. He's clearly selling beer.
Really not.
So my aunt was one of
I love
the.
how they all run to celebrate with him and his girl, and like, yeah, help pick her up. Andy got the girl. We won, and he got the girl.
So my aunt was one of the Bloody Mary vendors at Miller Park for several years. So that was always fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Down in the left field line. Yeah.
Margaret Whitten got fourth billing ahead of Lou Brown.
Wow,
and,
that's amazing.
Rene Russo.
She was never.
Wesley Snipes, Rene Russo,
Yep.
Haysbert. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Irish
I'm
Pepper
on here.
side.
Andrew Romano. So good. So that's Major League, everybody.
There's
Thanks.
Neil. There's Neil Flynn.
Neil Flynn, the janitor.
Oh, yep. Longshoreman. I suppose that's what he was.
Yeah, longshoreman indeed. Bodybuilding assistant.
Anyway, remember baseball.
Ted Noose. That's a good one. now we're down to the other people. So it is a good baseball movie. It tries to have people look correct and sound correct, and
it's still my favorite baseball movie strictly because it's actually like, it's not about like someone's personal growth. It's not about like a love arc that turns around baseball. It's not about Field of Dreams is just awful.
I've always talked about whether we should hate watch that one. I know some people love it, and more power to you if you do. I think that movie is garbage, and I would
maybe I hate it because I grew up without a dad, and like I don't get it.
I did have a dad, and I think that might make it worse in some ways. I also grew up watching black people play baseball, and that probably makes it even worse. Like,
don't you guys remember when it was segregated? Let's make a cornfield about it.
The worst part of it is
one of the best things Craig Calcaterra has done is written his review about why that movie is fucking.
I agree with Craig on that completely. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't be as bad, except they reference that they keep Ty Cobb out for being a jerk, but but they don't include any Negro League players at all. Like, oh, jeez. Don't do that.
Racism's still fine. You just can't be mean. That's what the movie teaches you. That's what it's trying to. That's what it's going for.
So
the movie is
anyway, this is not about Field of Dreams, which is
this is about a movie about baseball that's actually about baseball.
Yes,
and about Bob Uecker drinking.
About Bob Uecker drinking.
Bob Uecker being phenomenal. So, like, all the big guys are phenomenal. Like, Uecker's great as you would expect him to be, but like Serrano, even for being kind of a typecast, not great character, is funny and good in it.
He gives a good performance.
He does. Haysbert plays it really well.
And I think like Sheen not having an overall high leading performance in this is what makes him enjoyable.
Yeah, he's like a background lead.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's more about like you're just rooting for this guy not to be awful because he does have amazing talent. But like you don't really know his character.
Yeah.
You don't really know his personality.
And we did rip on Snipes' athleticism, but Snipes is also very good in the movie too. He pulls a good performance as a guy who just walked onto a baseball team.
Right. It's the ultimate
there's
culmination.
Jerry Augustine. He's listed under the Yankees.
Yeah, he's in the Yankees. I know he's in the Yankees. So I think
and we have to edit that meme.
I think he's the starter for them in the playoff game. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he is. It looks enough like the St. Augie picture.
I just like it's truly
Dan,
about playing
Dylan.
baseball and about underdogs.
Is that Bob Hoskins under the umpires? Is that actual Bob Hoskins? Like Oscar-winning Bob Hoskins? Guy who played Mario with John Leguizamo? I gotta look that up. All right.
Wait, the guy who played Mario was John Leguizamo?
No, he played Luigi.
Oh.
Bob Hoskins was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I knew that John Leguizamo played Luigi Mario.
Okay, but
I just thought that John Leguizamo, the way you said it, had played a guy named Mario in this movie. And I was really confused.
That's not as confusing as anything about the Super Mario Brothers movie that I was referencing. So,
all right, so the next watch is Super Mario Brothers.
All right. Well, that's all the credits. So, all right. Thanks to everybody for watching with us. Much appreciated. And we'll post this as a podcast soon. Thanks to the guys for joining me too. And we'll see you next time we do a live watch or podcast or anything like this.
Welcome to New Cleveland town, everyone. No river fires for over 50 years. Our hearts are swelling with pride and plus corned beef. We all wear t-shirts to prove we like living here. This building's no longer haunted by sadness. We win a title about every century. We now have more breweries than citizens. We put up signs to remind us where we live. We added bars and we legalized gambling. Now we're like Vegas but cold 10 months a year. Welcome to Cleveland, you Major League All-Stars. Spend all your money and have fun while you're here. It could be worse, you could be in Detroit. Still not Detroit.